Hello everybody, Samantha White here, and today I'm going to be talking all about what I did with all my stuff when I moved. Now, as you probably know, if you've been watching my videos, I am going to be moving to Australia on the 19th, so very, very soon. But I'm not in Australia yet. Currently, I'm in Nebraska at my mom's house, and I thought I would just do a little update on what I did with all my stuff when I left New Hampshire. So when I found out I was moving, the first thing I did was I went through all of my stuff and I donated as much as I possibly could. Now, I could have sold this. That's a really good option because when you sell your stuff or give it specifically to a person, you know it is going to be used by that person. I just couldn't do it. So what I did, because it was easier for me, and all you can do is your best, and at the time, just giving everything away to local charity shops and thrift stores was my best. If it was donatable and in good condition, I gave it away. After I'd given so much stuff away, I realized I still had quite a few things that couldn't be donated and couldn't be recycled in my zero sort recycling dumpster recycling bin. So I looked up my local landfill, and it turns out that they actually have a really decent recycling program. So at my local landfill, I was able to recycle light bulbs, old electronics, we had a tube TV we recycled there, old cell phones, old lithium batteries, ceramic mugs, because I had a few that were broken, Pyrex glass, because I had some Pyrex glass that was broken. Not all places will accept Pyrex glass because it is treated differently than a regular glass bottle, so definitely check with your recycling center before you recycle items like ceramics, Pyrex glass, or window panes, because those are not the same as like a glass bottle. And we also were able to take scrap metal, so I just had some weird little pieces of scrap metal just from life that I didn't want to throw away and I couldn't put in my zero sort, so took that. And compost. We had a composting bin inside our apartment and we had no place to dump it because it was the middle of February, so everything is frozen, and I no longer had a community garden plot, so we took it to the dump. They had a what is that called? Yard waste. They had a spot for yard waste and they let us just dump our finished compost there. So once I was done recycling everything that I could at the landfill, I then looked up places around town where I could recycle what was left over. I found out that Best Buy actually will recycle a lot of small electronics, which the landfill wouldn't take. They would take my bigger electronics, but they wouldn't take things like keyboards or controllers, or I think I had a GPS they took. Little things like that. They also take cables. So we had a whole bunch of old cables. You know, you just end up with like a drawer full of cables and you're like, how did this happen? I don't even think I owned things with cables. They also will recycle your old plastic wrap and your ink cartridges, though I did not know that. So I took all my old plastic bags and number 2 and number 4 plastics, which are often like, you know, those big bubble things that come in where? I think I have a visual aid. This stuff. So this is number 2 plastic. So I had a whole bunch of stuff like this. Things that just accumulate, man. Like, you don't think that you're gonna end up with that much plastic in your life when you're actively trying to avoid it. And then somehow, 2.5 years later, you look back and you have a whole drawer full of plastic. We took it to Price Chopper and recycled it because they had an outdoor bin for number 2 and number 4 plastics. But Best Buy will do it turns out. And ink cartridges, Best Buy will also take, but we had already gone to Staples because I knew that Staples took ink cartridges, and they actually will give you money back if you bring in an ink cartridge. Definitely worth doing even if you don't care about recycling. So that was basically everything that I could recycle or take in town. Now, I did mail some stuff out to be recycled, so I had a whole bunch of pill bottles that you like get when you get medicine. And I actually found an organization online called Matthew 25. And you can actually wash your old pill bottles, take off the labels, and mail them in, and they will make sure that they get to someone in need. I also mailed off my old bras and my old denim items that I no longer wanted but that weren't quite wearable to 2 different places. So the bra recycling place was one, and then the denim was what is that called? BlueJeansGoGreen.org. So I had those 2 items that I sent off because I could find places to recycle them online, and so I did. Everything that I had left over after that was clothing that was no longer donatable and no longer wearable. and I ended up, instead of throwing it away, I ended up bagging it all up and putting it in to the Planet Aid donation boxes. This is where I find the recycling gets really tricky, because I could have just done that and been like, yeah, I recycled my clothes and now I don't have to think about it. But I looked up where those items get sent, and they just get sent overseas. And I watched a documentary once that made it pretty clear that that's not actually good for a developing country or any country's economy to just get inundated with a whole bunch of old, not quite wearable clothes. And now tradespeople and people who are creating clothes in that country don't have a job because there's just all this cheap old clothing from America. And that's where this gets hard for me. I find it very confusing sometimes to know what the right thing to do is. Was it right to donate those clothes even though they were in pretty rough shape? Would it have been better to throw them away? Is there actual textile recycling somewhere that I could have mailed them to? I don't know the answers to these questions. Basically, I disposed of everything the best I could, and then I still had some trash at the end. And that's okay. That's still zero waste, because zero waste isn't about being perfect, and it's not about creating zero trash, even though the name would imply that. I have rambled on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Recycling shouldn't be this hard. Knowing how to properly get rid of your stuff and not just toss it in the trash shouldn't be this hard. Why is it? Or maybe it was just hard for me because I don't know what I'm doing.